Okay, so what I want to show you in this video is just kind of how to pretty up your Excel. So what we have here is just data that has come over. So you've got your parent and your subsidiary. We've got their income statement, statement of retained earnings, and then their balance sheet. So what I would do with this is I would start to kind of make it pretty. So I'm going to highlight these, or not, sorry, not highlight, but bold. And then I'm going to click both cells and then go in and add my commas to make them formatted correctly. You could do currency if you like to see the dollar sign. I normally just stick to the commas. Then you could go in here and say, okay, well, these are total lines, so I want to adjust my borders. I want them to have maybe like that, top and bottom borders, so we can see that, hey, that's my bottom line number. Then I'm probably going to do the same thing down here. I'd like that to look like a bottom line number. Then I'm going to go down to my balance sheet and do the same thing for those totals. Okay, so then I've kind of made it pretty. Then I want to add my consolidating entries. So I'm going to add a line here at the top. And then I'm going to put in a couple smaller columns for my journal entry references. And then I'm going to say, okay, consolidating, if I can type, consolidating entries. And then here I've got my debit column, and here I've got my credit column. And again, what I would probably do here is I'm going to make that, I'm going to merge it. So if I click that little button, that merges it. These I'm going to put in the center of the cell. And then I will bold those as well. Okay, then I'd have over here my consolidated total. And then those I'll do the same, I'll bold, and then I'll center them. Why is it not working? Maybe this one. There we go. Okay. Then I'll create my formulas. So you got to kind of know where you're at. So here in the income statement, we start with revenues. So revenues increase with a credit balance. So I'm going to take my parent. So you can see I just pushed equals, and then I moved over and put my cursor on the parent cells and clicked that. Then I'm going to hit plus, and then put my cursor on the sub cell and push that. Then I'm going to do plus the credit, consolidating entry credit, minus the debit, and then push enter. And then it pops it in. And then now my cost of goods sold is the reverse. My cost of goods sold is a debit because it's an expense. So I take my parent plus my sub plus the debit minus the credit, and then push enter. And then here I'm also going to make it a cell, or I mean a formula. So I always normally just hit the equal sign and then select it. So that minus that, whoops, that, and then push enter. And then if we want to go ahead and make that a little bit formatted, we could do not the double line, but just a top and bottom border, or just a top only, maybe just the top only actually. So let's go back and say no border, and then say just the top border. Okay, then our operating expenses are also debits, increased by the debit. So we'll take our parent plus our sub plus the debit minus the credit. And then my equity income is income, so that's going to be increased with the credit. So my parent plus my sub plus my credit minus my debit. And then we're going to sum those. Now my sum, normally you've got a little sum up here in your menu options. I'm not sure, mine has disappeared for some reason. So I'll just stick to the equal sign. So equals is going to be that plus the other income minus the expense. And then that again, I can go to my borders and top and double underscore on the bottom. Then my retained earnings are going to be my parent plus my sub minus the debit plus the credit. Now my net income, don't sum that across. My net income is just going to roll from above. So all I do is push equals, select the net income, and push enter. So don't forget that one's a little bit different. So I'll put that over to the side. The dividends, they're already in parentheses. When you already have them in parentheses, then you don't have to worry about what, I mean, you don't, it's all, to me, it's almost a little bit harder, but the dividends I leave in parentheses. And then those are going to increase. Whoops. So my parent plus my sub minus the debit, no, plus the debit, because it's already negative, minus the credit. Okay. Oops, didn't like it. What did I do wrong? Start that again. All right, so my parent plus my sub plus the debit minus the credit. Okay, there we go. And then that too, we can just do a sum of these together. Now, well, let me delete that value. Let's delete them. I don't know what I touched. Okay. Then that we can also do the double underlines. Then when we come down to our balance sheet, these we can do a little quicker. It's going to be our parent plus our sub plus a debit minus a credit. Because again, balance sheets increase with the debit and they decrease with the credit. And then once you have that cell, you can just drag it. If you get that little plus sign, you can drag it down. And then again, I'm still looking for my darn sum. Oh, is it maybe over here? Let's see if we go. Now those are like functions. My sum is gone. Okay. So then here I'll just again do it manually. If you could see the little sum icon, that makes this, when you're summing a row of them like that, all in the same direction, it makes that a little bit easier. But I'll just put them all in. Okay. And then come back to my, oh, there it is. There's my sum. So like, I'll show you that. So if I, all right, so if I go back to my home and then I click on my sum, it'll automatically do that whole line for you. Okay. Then my liabilities and my equity, we got the parent plus the sub plus the credit minus the debit. And then that too, you can just click on the cell. When you see the little plus sign, drag it down. Okay, then come down here and go back home and push on your little sum and it'll pop it in and you go like that. Okay. And then again, go back home and then do the double underline, the top and double underline bottom. Okay, so then you've kind of created your sheet and then you can go ahead and fill in your entries. So I'm not really going to do a whole problem, but like I'll just do one just to kind of show you. So say we're going to do our E entry. The other double check that I like to do is I add a total for all my debits and my credits. So I go up here, and I'm going to sum that, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the credit side. I'm going to separate it. Yeah, I don't want to go that way. I want to go all the way up to the top. So again, I'm just clicking and dragging that. Okay, so then let's just do, if I just do the E entry. So the E entry, we know we're going to eliminate the common stock, paid in capital of the sub, and then we go up to our statement of retained earnings, and we're always going to eliminate the beginning balance of that. Now again, I don't like how it's formatted, so if I click that cell, I can go back to the home and say, okay, I want commas in there. I want those numbers to look good. Go back to that and do the same thing. Put in those commas. There's no values in there yet, but when there is, it'll put the commas in. So then our total, then if I look down here, we've got 250,000 of debits. So when I come over here, I'm going to put in my 250,000 credit, and then I know my entry is balanced. And then if I want to color code them, I'm going to go back to my home and say, okay, what the E entries are green, right? So I'm going to highlight this, go back home, and go to the little paint can and then find a light green. Then you just go through here, again, go back home, click on the paint can, it's going to turn it green. Go down here, highlight both of those, click on that paint can, and it turns those green. And then the other thing to just remember is you're going to have to add extra lines for your equity investment, and you'll probably have to add extra lines for any other assets that are going to be added. So I would do that, and then like right here, carry this formula down those 2 rows. So then it's ready if you're going to add goodwill or a patent. Now, but this cell, you have to go back and say, okay, well, now I have to adjust it and say, okay, I could have multiple entries here. So now I'm going to add the next row's debit and subtract the next row's credit. And again, you may have to do that a 3rd time, because if you have an A entry, which you will, and then a C entry, they all go in there. So then again, go back to this and say, okay, now I'm going to add my debit and then subtract my credit. And then these ones are not blue, so go back, and if I go back there, I can just say no fill on these until I would get them ready. But I don't want to work the whole problem. I just want to show you what you need to do to get your Excel set up. Then the one last thing I got to do when I come down here is you notice my total assets don't equal my liabilities, because my retained earnings should not be a formula. It too rolls from above. So I'm going to say this cell should be equal to this amount. And then you can see it makes my balance sheet balance. So then this one also rolls from above. So if I were you, I would create a file like this, and I would call it my template. Then every problem that I assign to you, you come in over here and you're going to change all of your parents' information and all of your subs information, but then your consolidated total stays. You can really even leave your colors, because for the most part, those entries all stay the same location, just different dollar amounts. I mean, you may have more assets to add here or delete there, but it gives you a good place to start. So I would spend some kind of quality time getting comfortable with everything I just showed you and get that template set up.